President, please be seated. The court is back in session, and the chamber gives the floor to the defense counsel for Mr. Kisampon to resume his questioning. You may now have the floor. Kong Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, before the lunch break, we were discussing about the fighting between Khmer Rouge and the Vietnamese troops on Pulawai Island. I have a few further questions, particularly concerning the instructions from your upper echelons. Were combatants instructed to make trouble with Vietnamese troops when you were part of the naval forces? Answer. After the liberation in 1975, the soldiers were obliged to protect the territorial borders at sea. We were not educated or instructed to attack the Vietnamese troops. So we were told to defend the maritime territory instead, and we were told that we need to protect the Vietnamese from entering into the maritime territory of Cambodia. Counsel, thank you. Concerning the traveling of Vietnamese boats or other foreign ships into maritime territory of Cambodia, were you instructed to go and chase and capture Vietnamese ships at that time? Answer. Concerning the maritime border which we needed to protect, when the Vietnamese fishing boats came into maritime territory of Cambodia, those fishing ships had no guns or weapons. Question. My question rather concerned the fishing boats of Vietnam. Were they equipped with weapons? Answer. In that year, when Vietnamese ships entered the maritime territory of Cambodia, some of those fishing boats were equipped with weapons, but some did not have weapons. And I noticed that some fishing boats had one or two M16 weapon. Question. How did you know about that? Answer. I learned this through the tasks that we had performed. When the Thai or Vietnamese fishing boats came into maritime territory of Cambodia, we needed to capture those ships. And if those ships were equipped with weapons, we need to attack and fire at them. Council, thank you. I would like to read WRIDE 319/23.3.21. Question 21. Answer 21 rather. For us, the first important matter was the defense of the country. The second matter was the construction of the country. The instructions to defend the country meant we had to stay on the island permanently, not abandoning the island under any circumstances. When we saw warships entering our territorial waters, we had to report to the division so that they could intervene. As the commander on the island, I was responsible for making decisions to counter small motorboats with 20 horsepower to 400 horsepower engines. My boat was armed with both DK 82 mm guns and 30 mm machine guns. The Vietnamese motorboats which entered our territorial waters were armed with B-40 rockets and so on. Sometimes 10 boats or more than 10 motorboats entered our territorial waters, and some ships among them were responsible for protecting their fishing boats. Quote and unquote. Mr. Witness, after listening to the extract of WRI of a witness, what is your reaction to that extract of WRI? Answer. Yes, I was aware of that. However, we were responsible for a different task at that time. My regiment, which was stationed on the Polawai Island, never encountered such an incident. Actually, the other regiment used to encounter such an incident. And as I said, we were in different regiments, and we faced with different challenges and different situations at that time. Council, thank you. Concerning your testimony you gave on 16 December, you stated at around 10:39:04 that in 1977 I once or twice saw the incident. Later on, there were no incidents happening at the harbor. And most of the time, there were trucks coming to take those people to Kampong Sam. And then there was a further question to your answer. In document E319/23.3.46, question and answer 10. You stated that there were thousands of people arrested, and people were sent through Ochetia Port 4 or 5 times a month. I want to ask you, about the arrest of Vietnamese people on the boat. So how many people, Vietnamese people, were arrested on board, and how many times did you witness those arrests?
បាទ
Answer. It is true that I witnessed the arrests, as I have made a mention already. I did not tell lies to the court. This actually happened at that time, and people, Vietnamese people, were sent to Ô Chơ Tiêu harbor or port, and afterwards they were transported to Kampong Saum, Ô Tre, or Cham Ca Dong. People were arrested on a monthly basis in 1978, which was an intensive year of arrest. Counsel, thank you, Mr. Witness. You appear to provide inconsistent statements. One statement uh, is that there were 2 or 3 arrests a month, and there was another statement you made mention that thousands of people were arrested 4 or 5 times a month. So which version is correct? Answer. Let me clarify this point. In fact, at that time, I was stationed at Ô Chơ Tiêu port, and 2 or 3 times the arrest and transportation of Vietnamese people happened. It was a true incident at that time. Vietnamese people had been arrested, and they were sent through Ô Chơ Tiêu port at that time before they were transported to Kampong Som. Counsel, thank you. Can you specify the exact date when you said you were stationed at that port and you were tasked to fish? And you also said that you were injured during the fighting with American troops on Tang Island, and at the time you received treatments. And how long were you being treated at that time, and how long after your recovery that you were reinstated in your unit? Answer. During the fighting on the island, I got injury on my hip, and I was hospitalized for half a month, and afterwards I came back to work in my unit. Counsel, thank you. After you were attached at Ô Chơ Tiêu port, can you tell the court when did you arrive at Ô Chơ Tiêu port? Answer. It was in 1977. Perhaps it was in April or May 1977 when I arrived at Ô Chơ Tiêu port. But I cannot guarantee the exact month or year that I arrived at Ô Chơ Tiêu port, the place where I was trained as well. Counsel, can you tell the court how long you stayed at Ô Chơ Tiêu port? Answer. I was trained at Ochetia Port for 1 month. And the following month, I was sent to study technical skills at Rong Island. Upon my arrival at Rong Island and after my training on Rong Island, I went to Dom Nat Sdach, and also I was stationed at Sokha Hotel. I was on a mobile basis, and at that time, as I was a messenger, I went this and there transporting supplies to ports. Council, thank you. In the hearing on 16 December last year at time mark 10:57:55, you testified before the chamber that, quote, those who had no weapons were sent to Ochetil port so that they could be put in division's office. However, in 1976, when I was not yet part of Division 140, it was a time that these people were sent to Ochetil. So, concerning the arrest of Vietnamese and they were sent to Ochetil port, did this happen during the time that you were trained at Ochetil port? Answer. The training was already concluded, and at that time I was part of the messengers unit in the division. I was tasked with driving a vehicle transporting military equipments to ports. And I worked in that messenger unit until the entry of Vietnamese in 1979. Council. So, does this mean that you witnessed the transfer of Vietnamese people to Ochetil port frequently? Is that true? Answer. Yes. In 1977 and 78, I no longer saw the transfers of Vietnamese people. But before that, before those years, Vietnamese troops, Vietnamese people were sent to Chetil port, and later on in 1977, 1978, or afterward, when it was time that the Vietnamese troop came into the country, there were no further transfer. In document E319/23.3.66, ask counsel. Question and answer number 66. You stated, quote, sometimes Khmer Rouge soldiers stationed at the islands captured boats and sent them to Riem instead of Kampong Som port. I would like to clarify that Chinese experts provided training to the Khmer Rouge Navy at Ochetil port. So ordinary ships were not allowed to anchor there. The port at Riem was an international port where general ships could anchor, unquote. So this is a WRI of a witness. So I want to know your reaction concerning the training which was provided by Chinese expert at that place, and ordinary ship were not allowed to anchor there. So what is your reaction to this statement? Answer. Concerning this matter, Ream Port was a place where people, including Thai people and Vietnamese people, were sent to that Ream Port. Ochetil was also the same case. I witnessed that Thai or Vietnamese people were sent to Ream or Ochetil, and torture also happened at the ports council. But my question is different. I want to know your reaction to that statement. That witness stated that ordinary ships were not allowed to anchor there, since that Ream port was the place where Khmer Rouge soldiers were trained by Chinese experts. So I want to know your reaction about that statement. President, please hold on, Mr. Winners. You have the floor now, International Co-Prosecutor.
Your Honors, Mr. President, it could be a translation issue because I think counsel is speaking quite quickly, but the way it was translated, his question reversed what the witness in that statement he's quoting from said. Perhaps he could read again to the witness what it is, but he said that the Chinese were at Ô Chu Teel, and he said, in fact, that just that Ream was an international port, not the additional information that counsel had in the question. I forget now. I couldn't quote this question, but it was different than what I was reading in the answer.
Counsel, yes, I can summarize what I had read. Ô Chu Teel port was the place where Khmer Rouge soldiers was trained, particularly the naval soldiers were trained, and Ream was an international port. So what is your reaction to the statement I have just quoted? Answer. I have no objection to that statement, said the witness. Ô Chu Teel port was not considered an international port. It was an ordinary port. And no Chinese experts were working or living at that Tom Nhat Sadat port. Chinese people were staying or living in Sokha Hotel. And once again, there were no Chinese at Ream or Ô Chu Teel ports. Warship did not anchor there. And as I said, I did not disagree to the statement of that witness. Counsel, thank you. In relation to the fate of the arrestees, I want to ask you about the statement you provided to the LITCO lawyers. You stated that a few people were killed. Did you receive the order to kill those few people, including the Vietnamese? Who did you receive the order from to kill those few Vietnamese people?
ខ្ញុំបានសូមជម្រាប
Answer: I told the court already that as a combatant or soldier under the leadership of upper echelon, I did not dare to violate the rules or regulation unless there was an order from my battalion, from regiment, and unless we receive, an order through a hierarchical key order, we could perform the task. Counsel interrupted. Could you tell the court exactly who gave the order, or what was his name or her name, and what was his or her roles and function at the time? Answer: I want to clarify this point to the court that the order came from the upper echelon and it went down to the battalion, and afterward soldiers had to perform the task to kill a few people right away. Bong Samnang, for example, was a commander of a battalion. When he issued an order, soldiers under him had to execute the order. Counsel: thank you. Samnang, was Samnang your direct commander of a battalion? Answer: yes. Samnang or Bong Samnang was the commander of my battalion. It is true. Question: did he issue the order to you to kill the arrestee on the island when there were not many of them? Is that true? Answer: I myself did not carry out the execution, but my unit did the killings. And as I said, when we received the order from him, we had to execute it. We had to execute the order. When we arrested a few of them, we had to kill them on the spot on the island. Thank you.
Question: and Samnang, who was your former superior, do you know whether he's still living, and if so, where? Answer: we departed from one another since 1977 when I was assigned to work on a ship, and I have never seen him since, so I cannot tell you whether he's still living or not. Question: can you tell the chamber under what circumstances Samnang issued an order to your group to smash those who were arrested on the island when the number was small? Answer: based on the instructions the battalion received from the regiment. Counsel interrupts. Mr. Witness, what I want to know is the circumstances or the circumstances that you received such instructions, whether the instructions were conveyed through a meeting, and if so, where and when? Answer. At that time, there were such instructions which were conveyed through meetings. For a small group of people who were arrested, the instruction was to execute them. And that was the clear instructions that we received. For the small number of arrestees, we had to execute them, and there was no need to bring them on shore. Counsel. Yes, we understand that. However, what we want to know is under which circumstance the orders were delayed, and if the orders were delayed during a meeting or meetings, where those meetings were held and who participated in those meetings. Answer. At that time, the orders were very strict. We could only implement the orders when the orders were relayed during meetings. And if we fail to implement an order, for example, an execution order, then we ourselves would be executed. If we were to receive orders through meetings, those orders had to be implemented. And usually those orders were conveyed through meetings at the battalion level or at the regimental level. Question. Mr. Witness, I'd like to get further clarification from you. When you said that orders were related to you through meetings to execute a small number of arrestees, can you tell us whether those meetings were held per group or per the entire battalion? Answer. The meetings were convened at the battalion level, and we were informed that the instructions that were relayed to us were from the regimental level. That was clear to us, and that's what we learned in the meetings. Question. Did you participate in any meeting chaired by the regimental level on this particular issue? Answer. No, I did not. I never attended meetings at the regimental level. Usually I attended meetings within my unit. Question. What about meetings held at the divisional level? Did you ever attend meetings at those levels on the issues that we are discussing now? Answer. In my capacity as a combatant, I never attended a meeting at a divisional level. I did not even attend any meetings held at the regimental level. Question. You stated in your interview that Vietnamese were hereditary enemies of Cambodia. how did you learn that? Did you learn it through your training or through your education? Answer. Allow me to clarify this issue once and for all. On the issue of the Vietnamese as hereditary enemies, in fact, I learned of this information through study sessions which lasted for a day or two, and we were told that Cambodia and Vietnam were hereditary enemies. And I can recall that very clearly. Question. Yes, thank you. However, my point is as to when and where did you learn about this through your study session? Please respond briefly as I am running out of time. Answer. It was one of those study sessions held at the island. They received this study plan and then it was conveyed to us on an island. Question, which island are you referring to? Answer, it was Pulawai Island. Question, is it Potiwai or Polowai? Through your statements, you mentioned the island of Potiwai, and on some other instances, you mentioned Polowai. Is it one and the same, or are they two different islands? Answer, I refer to one and same island. Sometimes it is known as Potiwai, Polowai, or Powai. Or sometimes they refer to Old and New Polowai Island. And in fact, they refer to the same island. Question. When you refer to the study sessions on Polowai Island, are you referring to the time that you were assigned to a station there after the withdrawal of the Vietnamese troops from the island? Answer. I have already stated that we were assigned to a station on the island after the withdrawal of the Vietnamese troops. Question. Were there any further clashes after that between the Vietnamese and the Cambodian troops? That is, after you were given information that Cambodia and Vietnam were hereditary enemies through your study sessions? Answer, there were no further clashes during that year, although we learned in the study sessions that Cambodia and Vietnam were hereditary enemies. Of course, there were clashes on land, but not on the island. Question. Who, can you recall, do you recall who was your superior, who actually gave you a lecture that Cambodia and Vietnam were hereditary enemies? Answer. On the issue of hereditary enemies, through my understanding, the information was given to us at the battalion, but it is my understanding that this information was conveyed from the division level and it was given in study sessions throughout the country council. My question to you is, who was the person who actually conveyed this information, whether the person was your superior or commander, and what is his name, if there is the case? Answer. It was my battalion commander who relayed such information to us, that Vietnamese were our number one and hereditary enemies. Counsel, who? Answer, it was Sam Nang. Question, did you attend such study session personally, or did you hear it from other soldiers? Answer, I personally attended the study sessions and I received such instruction from my commander. Question. My question to you is that whether Sam Nang, who was your superior commander, actually gave instructions to you, or whether he appointed another cadre to provide instructions to you. Answer. I received trainings, these political educational trainings at my battalion. From representatives of the regiment. So there were representatives from the regiment who came to relate information at our battalion study sessions. Question. My question to you is in relation to the time you spent on Polowai Island. How long did you spend on that island? And also on the study sessions that you attended on the island, that when you learned the instructions that Vietnamese were Cambodian hereditary enemies, did you attend these study sessions at the beginning of your stay on the island, or whether it was toward the end of your stay on the island? Answer. I was on Potivai Island after my engagement with the American soldiers, and I remained there until 1977, that is until about April or May of 1977, when I was reassigned to work on a ship. Question. The second part of my previous question is about when you attended the study sessions where information about Vietnamese as hereditary enemies. When was that study session held? Answer. It was in early 1977 when that study session was organized for my unit. Question. Could you please repeat again the real or the actual position of Sam Nang? Maybe I did not get it from your previous response. Answer. បងសំណាង was the political commissar. He was in charge of politics and disseminated information, political information to us. Question. He was a political commissar, and which level was he attached to? Was it at a battalion or a regimental level? Answer. Sam Nang was a commander of a battalion, and that was his role. Question. Did you attend any other similar trainings at the upper level, for example, at the regimental level or at divisional level? Answer. I did not attend any study session at any higher level than the battalion level. Question. Allow now to refer to a conflict with the Americans. This morning at around 9:35, you stated that crew of the Mayaguez were arrested, and then they were rescued by American troops. In one of your WRI, that is E3/9092, at EN in Khmer 00955499, French 00980438, English 00978570, and allow me to quote. You stated that we let them go. However, when they boarded their ship, they attacked us by a warplane. End of quote. Free translation. Could you please tell the chamber which statement is correct? Answer. The American crew was returned from the inland, and they were sent to board the ship. Then the ship, the Mayaguez ship, departed, and after the departure of that ship, the island was attacked and bombarded by warplanes, and it became so intensified, and it lasted till 7 o'clock in the evening. And after that, the Americans completely withdrew themselves from the territorial waters and the air space of Cambodia. Question. Did the Cambodian authority release the crew of the Mayaguez ship? And then there was an attack by the Americans' plane. Or were the crew not yet released when the attack occurred? Answer. We allowed them to leave, and the attack came after the Mayagage ship departed. Question. I have some smaller questions in relation to your study sessions. Did you attend any study session besides those that you stated in the court? For instance, did you attend any other study sessions at the divisional level? Answer. Later on, I did not attend any study session at any other level because by that time the situation became calm and there were no further study sessions. Question. You mentioned earlier that Mahmoud was commander of Division 164. And my question to you is the following. Do you know who was in charge of the entire army of Cambodia? Answer. After the war ended in 1975 and with the announcement of the Communist Party of Cambodia, and I'd like to mention the following facts. The Communist Party of Cambodia was announced after the war ended in 1975, and by that time I only learned of names of those at the leadership level. The names that I heard of included Khieu Sampon. I learned of Khieu Sampon's name before the war ended in 75, and after the war ended in 1975, I learned of Pol Pot's name, who was the leader. And Mahmoud was the commander in charge of the division in Kampong Saum. And I learned of this information in 1975. And I recall that information clearly. And of course, I remember it until 1993 when we went to some load. Question. My question to you is, who was the commander-in-chief of the entire army in Cambodia? And I do not refer to the administrative leader of the regime. Do you know who was the military commander-in-chief at the time? Answer. I cannot recall that. I cannot recall who was the military commander-in-chief or who was in charge of politics. Question. Does the name Son Sen ring a bell to you? Answer. I know the name, but I never saw the person. and I did not receive any information whether he was the commander-in-chief or not, or maybe I cannot recall it well. Question: did you ever meet him? Answer: no, I did not. Question: in document E319/23.3.12 at question answer 25, the witness speaks about the instructions from Son Sen. He said that in late 77, I attended a meeting in Phnom Penh for the work of Division 164. I heard Mahmoud made a report about the Vietnamese boats which entered the Cambodian maritime waters, and Son Sen said if those Vietnamese were refugees going to Thailand, they should not be arrested, and that we should allow them to trespass. End of quote. Free translation. Did you ever hear such an instruction that Vietnamese refugees should not be arrested? Answer: no, I did not hear any instruction of not arresting those people. I only heard of instructions to arrest them. One of my last questions to you is the following. Did you know about the establishment of the armed forces of Democratic Cambodia, that is after the administrative structure of Cambodia regime or Democratic Cambodia regime was organized? Answer: no, I did not. I was a combatant, so I did not have that knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Witness and Mr. President. I don't have any further questions for this witness. President, thank you. As we still have some time left, I'd like to hand the floor again to the Defense Counsel for Noon Chi. Since you still have some further questions to put to this witness, you may proceed, Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me turn to your direct commander, Bong Sam Nang. Was he the one who was always your commander when you were stationed at Paulawai?
Answer. Sam Nang was my commander.
Was he also the commander when you were fighting the American forces at Koh Tang?
Answer. In 1975, when I participated in the attack at Tang Island, there were two battalions were under a regiment, and one company was stationed at Pulawai, another company was on another island, and Sam Nang did not join me in the fighting. However, at the time, there was a member under Sam Nang. That a member participated in the fighting. His name was Bong Nit.
But when you were at Pauai, Bong Samnan was always your direct commander. Is that correct?
Answer, yes, that is correct. He was my direct commander.
Now, is my understanding correct that only in 2 instances did you see a killing of an alleged Vietnamese person? One incident that we discussed this morning, which took place on Polowai itself, and a second incident was on sea, on open sea. Is that correct?
Answer, yes, that is true and correct.
And the second incident that you had described earlier, when a soldier threw a baby into the sea, was that at the open sea between the island called Pauai and the mainland, somewhere in between those 2 places?
Answer. At that time, I was sent to work on the land near the port, where I saw the incident during which a baby who was crying so loudly was thrown into the sea.
But it was not at sea when this incident happened, or was it on the shore? Where exactly did this happen?
Answer, the baby was thrown into the sea.
But was it thrown into the sea from a ship that had just come from the island, or was it very close to the shore?
Answer, I witnessed that incident. The baby was thrown into the sea from the Vietnamese boat or ship. The soldier went up onto the ship or boat of the Vietnamese people, and at that time the baby was crying so loudly, and they threw the baby into the sea.
So it was done by forces from Polowai on open sea. Is that correct?
Answer, yes, that is true. That was carried out by a battalion under a regiment 62, and they did throw the baby into the sea, and I witnessed that.
And just to be sure, these were the only 2 incidents that you saw, and is my conclusion correct that both incidents were done ultimately under the supervision, possibly of Bong Samnang? Is that correct?
Answer, we, the subordinates, had to respect the superiors, and I did not know whether my immediate superior respects the other higher categories. So when there was an order, we had to carry it out.
But when this incident happened, when you saw this soldier throwing this child into the sea. Was this a spontaneous action from him, or did he confer first with Bong Sam Nang?
Answer. Bong Sam Nang was the commander of battalion, and it was his decision that allowed the subordinates to carry out that action, throwing the baby into the sea.
Well, let me read something else to you from someone who was also a member of Division 164. Mr. President, it is E3/9113, English ERN 0097422, and Khmer 00926399. And he's being asked a question about what to do when boats were spotted. And he says the following: we were instructed not to arrest the civilians. We could arrest them for detailed investigation to check whether they were really refugees or not. If they wanted to leave safely, we could let them go, and we were sometimes willing to send food supplies to them. They headed to the west by boat, but we asked them not to come into these areas again. However, such people would not return. Each small boat carried around 8 persons. The traveling was adventurous. Having seen them traveling on small boats, we pitied them very much. And then a question regarding the intelligence agents coming to our island. Was there any instruction from the division? Answer: we were instructed to arrest them and send them to S21. Now, Mr. Witness, this seems to be a witness who is giving a different description as to what to do when people were spotted in boats. If they were refugees, then most of them would be allowed to pass on. If there was a suspicion that they were not refugees, they were questioned and then sent for further interrogation. So that seems to be contrary to the instructions or orders from Bong Sam Nang. Can you please respond to that?
Answer: I do not know how to respond. To comply with the rules and regulation of Cambodian revolution, no release after the arrest. If people were arrested, they were sent for interrogation, and confession would be broadcasted on the radio, over the radio, and I did not know whether such matter happened in other regiments. For the task that we did in my Regiment 62, it happened like I described.
You described your unit or the people involved in the Mayaguez incident as quote-unquote wild bandits. Was your unit, under the leadership of Bong Sam Nang, including yourself, a group of wild bandits?
Answer: let me address the matter you asked. it is an important matter I need to address. I was one of a combatants under Division 164, and I was also under Regiment 62 or 622. We were not wild bandits. We had a strict chain of command from 1972 to 1975 and afterward, after 1975, and also until the fall of the dismantle of Khmer Rouge.
But what did you mean when you said that when the Mayaguez was captured, quote, we were like the wild bandits because we captured it illegally, unquote? What does it mean when you say that your group were wild bandits?
Answer. Let me make it clear. I use the term wild bandits and the praise without legal basis since that time, because it was because that during the time there was war, and when we spotted any ships or boats, we needed to capture, regardless the boat or ship belongs to Thailand or America at the time. So I compared soldiers at the time to be like wild bandits, since they were not aware of international sea border, or they were not aware of law and regulation at sea. President interrupts. You have gone over time, counsel. So you can conclude your questioning now, counsel.
I still have many questions, Mr. President, but I will end with the final question. The two incidents that you described where alleged Vietnamese were killed, were those actions from the same wild bandits who arrested the Mayaguez? Was it a group of wild bandits who did that?
Answer. In that year, Regiment 62 was responsible for the capture. So no other regiments were there to carry out the seizure or capture. Regiment 62, together with a few other battalions, 10 of them perhaps, carried it out. So no other regiments besides Regiment 62 did the capture.
Like I said, Mr. President, I have many more questions, but I don't have time anymore, unfortunately.
President. Thank you, Mr. Witness. The hearing of your testimony as a witness has now come to an end, and your testimony will contribute to the truth. You may now be excused. You may return to your residence or to any places you wish to go. I wish you good luck, good health, and prosperity in your life. Court officer, please work with a vessel to send this witness back to his residence or to any destination he wishes to go. Thank you as well, Mr. Muang Sawan, the duty counsel, for accompanying the witness. You may also be excused. And the chamber will continue to hear through TCW 848, but now it is time for a short break. The chamber will take a short break from now until 3:10. You have the floor, International Co-Prosecutor.
Very much, Your Honor. I just was hoping to clarify a couple quick scheduling matters so that we have the right lawyers in court. Tomorrow, I know we're going to discuss the issue of the requests for additional witnesses on the Vietnamese. Would it be possible sometime today for the Chamber to indicate whether that will be in the morning or perhaps after the witness finishes tomorrow? And also, it would be very helpful so we have the right lawyer in court to know whether you will have a reserve witness tomorrow or Friday present in court. Thank you very much.
President, thank you. The chamber informed already this morning that first thing in the morning tomorrow, before we resume the questioning of the witness, we start with the hearing of submission of and the responses of party first. So first thing in the morning, the court is now in recess.